What is going on, everyone? Before I start this review, I want to go over something real quickly. If you could not tell already, I'm pretty sick, and that's because yesterday I was diagnosed with COVID-19. So that means I'm going to be stuck in my house for another 7, 8 days. I started feeling symptoms on Wednesday, got pretty sick Thursday, and now today, after 3 days, I'm starting to feel a lot better. I planned on reviewing the first episode of The Falcon and the Winter Soldier about a week ago when it dropped, and then because of my sickness and because I was watching Breaking Bad and doing everything with my Breaking Bad video editing and just writing the script, I really put all of my focus on that instead of putting my focus on this show. So now that that's all over, I was able to watch the first and second episode of The Falcon and the Winter Soldier. So that's exactly why I am doing a combined review for the first two episodes. So now that I have updated you guys on my COVID status, and trust me, I am doing very well. I feel a lot better than I did 2 days ago. Let's get right to this review. The Falcon and the Winter Soldier is the second MCU TV series following WandaVision and stars Anthony Mackie and Sebastian Stan. In the first episode of The Falcon and the Winter Soldier, Sam and Bucky, who are on separate roads, are brought together surprisingly by a new Captain America. Of course, we will start off with my review of the first episode of The Falcon and the Winter Soldier titled New World Order. This episode was an absolute blast. It was way better than any episode I saw in WandaVision. I actually prefer this episode even over the second episode of The Falcon and the Winter Soldier. This episode was one of the best things I've seen from the MCU in a long time. The opening action sequence alone in the first episode makes this a great one. Typically, I'm not a big fan of superhero action. It always feels over the top and fake, but in the first episode of The Falcon and the Winter Soldier, this action sequence is a ton of fun. It's explosive, gritty, fast-paced, and unique. Plus, for an action sequence that over-relies on CGI in comparison to previous MCU action sequences, this time around, you don't notice it as much. But something that's huge in the first episode is that Sam gives up Captain America's shield. His initial reasoning for giving it up is that he feels like it doesn't belong to him. Is that the truth? We don't know yet. There could be more to his story behind giving up the shield, but I am very curious to see where that goes, and after episode 2, we can tell that this is going to be a huge storyline throughout the first season. But one really nice addition to the first episode of The Falcon and the Winter Soldier is that we get to meet Sam's sister as well as his two nephews. Right away, too, we understand the family dynamic between Sam and his sister. Sam wants to keep the family boat, whereas Sam's sister wants to sell it. They try to get a loan approved from the bank so they can get money to upgrade their boat, but the loan is not approved because of the blip. So right now they are struggling with this family boat situation, and I'm sure we'll see more from Sam and his sister in the later episodes of the season. For me, though, the most touching plot point of episode 1 was Bucky's story, who clearly still has PTSD from his time as the Winter Soldier, and we get to see one of his missions. It's a flashback, and during this mission, he kills an innocent man after taking out a group of men. Turns out this flashback is much more sinister than we thought because Bucky has a friend named Yuri. He's an older man, and it's kind of like a father-son relationship almost, but they're really close friends. And Yuri tells Bucky a story about how his son was killed, but they're not exactly sure how, and he's trying to piece it together, and Bucky realizes that he actually killed Yuri's son. Yuri's son was the kid that we saw in the earlier flashback, and when I realized that, I was devastated. It was a great reveal though, very well directed, and I absolutely love that part of this episode. Meanwhile, during all of this, Sam's friend is on a mission where he's trying to uncover the truth about these people called the Flag Smashers, and they're really strong, superhuman people. We see his friend get absolutely dismantled in this episode. I really like his friend though, and I'm curious to see where these Flag Smasher people go next. Finally, the episode ends off with a new Captain America being revealed, which upsets both Bucky and Sam, and I understand why Captain America gave the shield to Sam at the end of Endgame, so it technically belongs to Sam, but Sam gave it up, and we're not totally sure why yet. I'm sure we'll get more from this storyline to come. Anyway, the first episode of The Falcon and the Winter Soldier was an absolute blast. I had a fantastic time watching it, and it made me really excited for the next 5 episodes. Episode 2 comes directly after the events of Episode 1. It's titled The Star-Spangled Man, and here it is revealed that John Walker is named the new Captain America, while Sam and Bucky Barnes team up against a rebel group known as the Flag Smashers. I know I already mentioned this, but I have to reiterate myself. I don't think Episode 2 is as good as the first one. It's still a solid episode. I think it's like a 7 out of 10, but Episode 1 was like an 8.5 out of 10. That episode was really darn good. Episode 2, though, I think it's a little bit overrated. But hey, what do you know? Wyatt Russell is actually the new Captain America. He plays John Walker in the show, and we're still not certain whether or not his character is going to be a good guy or a bad guy. In the first 2 episodes, it so far feels like he's going to be a good guy, but then the way that his character left it off with both Bucky and Sam felt kind of odd. As a whole, I find it really fascinating that Marvel is exploring a plot line where a superhero who is no longer with us gets replaced by somebody else who then takes their spot as that same name of the superhero. I've never seen anything like that before, so for Marvel to bring that into The Falcon and the Winter Soldier is really cool. Plus, for Wyatt Russell, a guy who I never considered mainstream, for him to be in the MCU kind of disappoints me a little bit, because I liked how Wyatt Russell was never in a big spotlight, and now that he's finally here, it kind of like upsets me a little bit, because I don't want him to get too huge and be mainstream. Maybe he won't, though, because a lot of people don't seem to like his character very much. We do get this exciting truck sequence where the Flag Smashers take on all 4 of our main superheroes in this episode. It kind of reminded me of that truck sequence in episode 7 of season 2 of The Mandalorian, and while this is another exciting action sequence in The Falcon and the Winter Soldier, it's not nearly as good as the opening action sequence in the first episode with the Falcon. We also get introduced to another character known as Isaiah Bradley in episode 2. He was a super soldier too alongside Bucky, but was imprisoned and experimented on for 30 years. Yeah, this guy has been through a heck of a lot. I feel really bad for this guy. He is in a lot of pain from his past. And the episode ends off with an intense exchange between Bucky and Sam. They have a therapy session, but it doesn't go the way you're thinking it's going to go. It kind of starts off funny. They have a staring contest, and then like 10 seconds later, it gets really serious, and Bucky starts laying the hammer on Sam about him giving up the shield once more. This was one of the best moments in the series so far, and I'm really happy they included it here. But the episode's cliffhanger is the reintroduction of Zemo, who we last saw in Captain America Civil War. Yeah, it's been almost 5 years since we've seen this guy in the MCU. I never was the biggest Zemo fan, though, so I don't care that much. It's not like we're getting Kurt Russell back as Ego. So why do I think episode 1 is superior to episode 2? Well, episode 1 offers that emotional punch to the gut that episode 2 never quite brings to the table. Sure, we get that intense scene with Isaiah, and then we get the intense therapy session between Bucky and Sam, but episode 1 got me invested in the series emotionally right away. When I realized that Yuri's son was killed by Bucky, that devastated me, and I never saw it coming. I never would have guessed. Even when Yuri said the story, I did not put 2 and 2 together. Maybe that's because I had COVID already, but that was a really, really great reveal. Episode 1 as a whole is great, and it's not just because of the excellent opening action sequence, but we are given a ton more character development for both Bucky and Sam. Bucky, we learn that he killed Yuri's son, and for Sam, we meet his sister and his 2 nephews, and we understand what Sam's backstory is now. Episode 2 doesn't really have any moments like that. We just get a lot of scenes between the new Captain America and his partner alongside both Bucky and Sam. Nothing that I truly cared about, though, nearly as much as the things that we were introduced to in the first episode. Also, the Flag Smashers are more prominently featured in this episode, but their story gets a little bit convoluted. They're getting chased down by this thing called the Power Broker. I don't know if that's a guy or if it's an organization, whatever it may be, though. It was confusing. Aren't the Flag Smashers supposed to be the show's main villains? I guess not. Apparently, it's the Power Broker too, whoever the heck that could be. So yeah, I guess that's where we're going now. Alright, so those are my thoughts, guys, on the first 2 episodes of The Falcon and the Winter Soldier. I apologize for having to combine the two, but COVID did this to me. Of course, though, guys, if you have your thoughts on The Falcon and the Winter Soldier episodes 1 and 2, be sure to let me down below in the comment section what your thoughts of it are. Also, I finally watched the entirety of the Snyder Cut. Oh, it was so freaking good. I will have my review of that hopefully out tomorrow. We shall see. I have a lot of great stuff to get to, and I am really excited to get through all of it. Of course, though, guys, if you are new to my channel, click that subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. Thank you all so much for watching this video, and I hope you all have a fantastic day.